I was telling my good friend Jamie that I'm about to go and watch The Railway Children return, and she looked at me a little bit skeptically, like she might need to call the police, because it turns out The Railway Children is not a very well-known movie in other countries. She genuinely thought I was about to go down to a railway and watch some children come home, which absolutely made my day. And I have put a link in the description below so that you can check out her channel. She's a lovely girl with some great content, so please do give her some support. Hello everyone and welcome back to IMO Reviews. Today we are discussing The Railway Children Return, directed by Morgan Matthews and starring Jenny Agutter, Sheridan Smith, Tom Courtenay, Bo Gadson, Eden Hamilton, Austin Haynes and KJ Akins. This is a sequel to the original movie back from 1970, in which a group of children are evacuated to a Yorkshire village and encounter a stranded soldier. But before we go any further, could you please be a dear and hit that like button and hit the subscribe button if you haven't already. It really does help me and the channel massively, and we thank you if you do. Let's get into the positives of The Railway Children Return. The first one being that I thought the performances were really solid in this movie, particularly Sheridan Smith, who, let's be honest, she never fails to impress me. She does seem to be a little bit criminally underrated. I'm surprised that you don't see her in bigger pictures at this point in her career, but she really is a knockout actress and she brings another brilliantly grounded performance here. I also thought the children were pretty good. I always try and cut them some slack. They're young, they're still learning, but actually I thought these kids were really well cast and pretty confident in their performances. It was only fleeting moments where I felt, ooh, they didn't quite nail the delivery of that line there. 9 times out of 10, I thought they delivered it perfectly and really added some emotion and charm to their characters. And the standout of the children for me has to be Bo Gadson. The performance from her is just incredibly confident and real. She does feel like an evacuee girl from 1944 who perhaps has had to fend for herself and grow up a little bit too quick just to survive this crazy world that she finds herself in. I thought that was all so well realised and put on the screen just from the girl's performance alone. I would say remember the name because she has a bright future ahead of her, but having looked at her filmography, she's already been in some pretty big films, having played the young Jin Erso in Rogue One. That's kind of a big deal. But nonetheless, I was hugely impressed by her performance. Considering it's been 52 years since the original movie came out, I have to admit, I was dreading going in to see this one. That 1970s version of The Railway Children is just such a nostalgic movie to me. I must have watched that VHS to death as a child. So no, I don't think a sequel is necessary, but I was also concerned that this movie might damage the original, which I really didn't want to happen. Thankfully, this movie is made with a lot of love and good intentions. And I'd even go as far as saying that it did manage to capture the faintest taste of what that original movie was. I have to applaud that because so many of these sequels of a long-lost franchise, well, they just exist to milk some more money out of a popular name, all whilst applying the minimalistic amount of effort. But thankfully with this movie, after about 10 to 15 minutes, I realised we're in safe hands, we're okay, I can let my guard down. And by the end of the movie, I was smiling. I almost felt like the food critic from Ratatouille. It did somehow take me on a nostalgic trip to my own childhood. As the lights turned on, I couldn't help but sit there and think, pretty good. But I do have some flaws for the movie. A big one being, I never really bought the time period. It did feel like it was made in 2022. The actors feel like they come from 2022. It's only really the props and the wardrobe that feel like they're from wartime England. Everything else felt very modern day, and I don't think it quite worked. The blend wasn't there, the realism wasn't there. There's a real lack of believability. That's the best way I could put it. And this is a very small complaint and quite a specific complaint to those who are familiar with accents. Some of the accents aren't quite right in this movie. It's set in Yorkshire. Some of the characters are from Manchester. Some I think are from Bolton because that's what their accent sounds like, but I don't think they are supposed to be from Bolton. The Manchester accent it's a bit in and out, let's put it that way. Like I said, if you're not familiar with these accents, you're not even going to pay attention to it. But for me, who grew up with a very, very northern dad, yeah, it stood out like a sore thumb to me. And despite all of the praise and enjoyment that I had with the movie, it does still feel unnecessary and way too late as well. It is a hugely enjoyable movie, but do you need to see it? Does it add much to that original movie? No, not really. It's just a nice companion piece to it. So I'm going to give The Railway Children Return a 7 out of 10. I am surprised at how much I enjoyed this movie, and it really did manage to capture that nostalgic taste of the original movie even 52 years after the fact. I should also applaud the movie for doing its very, very best to try and stand on its own 2 feet and not rely too heavily on that nostalgia factor. It is trying to do its own thing and be its own movie, just with the awareness of its predecessor. And I do think that was a very good approach. It's made with love, it's very good-natured, but it certainly doesn't beat the original. It certainly doesn't feel necessary. And there's definitely a disappointment on my part as to how little I felt like this was actually wartime Britain. It very much felt like a movie being made in 2022 that's supposed to be about wartime Britain. Thank you for watching this review. Please be sure to hit that like button and hit that subscribe button if you haven't already, and please do hit the comment section. Have you seen The Railway Children Return? What did you think about it? Let me know in the comment section below. Take care, and I look forward to seeing you on the next review.